Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. Hannah McKitrick, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. Like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go all the way up to today, and then we want to talk about these amazing things you're doing with intuitive health. Is that cool?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Thanks for being here. So where were you born?
So I was born in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you grow up there?
I grew up south of Boston in like a little small town. Yeah.
So are you a Patriots fan?
Um, a Patriots fan would be a generous term for what I am in terms of the sports arena. I don't know if I could call myself a fan.
Yeah.
So I'm a food fan. I don't know if I'm a
So
Patriots fan.
you're all about the clam chowder.
Absolutely. The wings, the pizza, let me at it.
I love it. I love it. So growing up south of Boston, what was your
Mhm.
favorite thing about growing up there?
The beach, hands down. I
So
loved being so close to the water.
why was
Yeah.
the beach your favorite?
Because the beach has always calmed me, relaxed me. I love the water. It was like a kid's playground, always an activity to do.
Yeah. So growing up, who was the most influential person to you?
Um, I am very close with my family and always have been. My parents are pretty cool. They're like still my best friends, and my mom has a super compassionate heart, which was really instrumental growing up because I felt like permission to be myself all the time. And then my dad is super linked to my career journey in terms of my culinary passion because he has a culinary passion. And so he's always been in the kitchen. And I have really early memories of making homemade biscuits with him, homemade pizza. I had the pancake recipe memorized by age 5 and was like, making pancakes for myself. I was also the youngest of 4, so I kind of had to fend for myself. And so hence the memorization of the pancake recipe. Someone had to feed me. But I would say definitely my family.
So you had to eat, right?
I had to eat and like I wanted it to be good food. So homemade
Right,
pancakes was, yeah.
right. Why waste a meal, right?
Yeah, not trying to do that.
So where did you go to high school?
I went to Norwell High School, just the public high school in my town.
Okay. Did you
Yeah.
have a favorite subject in high school?
It's funny, when you said high school, I was like, "Oh, high school was such an insignificant blip in my timeline." It's like I've almost blacked it out, do you know what I mean? Like, I was
Yeah,
just like I was in high school for the grind, like,
yeah.
I was in it for the end goal, which that's not necessarily how I live my life now. I like to bring a lot more presence, but in high school, I was like, "Let's get the A's, let's get into a good college," and, like, that's why we're here.
Okay.
And so there's a lot less mindfulness, a lot less yoga, and, it was a lot less about digesting the subject and more about, like, studying for the end game, which is not what I'm about anymore, so, yeah.
Okay. So you graduate from high school and you pick a college. What college did you pick
So I went to Connecticut College.
and why?
It is a small NESCAC school, and I liked the size of it because it fostered a lot of intimate community, and it was also good for, academics, and so I was really invested in that, and it was close-ish to home. It was, like, 2 hours from home, and so
Not too
That's
far.
and it was liberal arts, and so it was broad because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so that's where I landed.
So what was your major?
So, my major, Mike, was a major that I thought sounded really good on paper, and I cared nothing about, which was economics.
Wow,
I
really?
Yeah, I was like, "This sounds like the smart thing to do, and maybe I wanna go into business, so, like, I'm just gonna do economics," and,
Yeah,
like, I did it, but, like, is that my passion? Absolutely not.
right. Well, you graduated though.
I did.
Okay. What was the most important thing you learned going to Connecticut College?
I would say for me, it was about the people that I met along the way. I met my best friends there. I had such rich, like, social interactions there and community, and I again, it's like I feel like I blacked out on all of the lessons. It was just like it was about the in college, it was about the experience,
Yeah.
which it totally filled my heart and was
Which was the
yeah,
opposite of high school, right? Yeah.
I flipped it, yeah, because I got to college and I was like, "Okay, what's the end game?" Like, this is the end game, and so, um, I got to be a lot more present and really just enjoy my friends while also still, putting an effort to academics because 'cause I'm always passionate about that, but, yeah, I would say it was the community that I built there.
So at some point, so in high school, you're grinding. You're really not about the experience. You're just about getting it done and getting to the next level. So you get to
Yes,
the next level. At
yes.
some point, there's a shift in your life. At some point, there's a pivot. Talk about that for a second, because now you're a different person than you were when you were in high school and you were trying to get through.
Yeah, I've had I've had so many shifts, Mike, like, I'll start with one of them. So I do college, I graduate, I get my first job, and to me, it blew my mind because my passion has always been food. I love food. I think it's like it's my favorite topic. I always smile when I talk about it. And I never thought that I could make a career out of that in the sense in by combining business. Like I'd never wanted to be a chef or anything like that. And so I was like, I don't know how to do that, but my first job out of college actually combined business with food, and so I had a corporate catering sales manager job, and I was like, "This is amazing, like, I get to combine my passion of food and my love of business and sales and achieving," and I was in this job, and I loved it, and I also got bored quite quickly, and so fast forward a year and a half, I ended up leaving that job for my passion, and this is kind of where, like, things that aha moment starts, which is when I quit my job and went to culinary school in Southern Italy, and
Oh,
yeah, did you
okay,
wanna
hold on, hold on. Now, just I'm sorry to interrupt,
Sure.
but I need to know this. So you're doing something you love. You're doing something that is a passion of yours. These are combined and you're super happy. At some point, you pivot again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Talk about that for a second, because a lot of people that are listening to this are going through this type of a situation, right? And
Yeah,
I feel like it's important that we share what we know and what we've experienced so that they can sort of learn from our lessons. You know what I mean?
so I felt like I had reached as high as I was able to reach at that career,
So
and
that
I
you
was
hit the
20
ceiling, so to
I
speak.
was 22, and so
Right.
I like to achieve, and so I'm
Right.
like, "What's next?"
Yeah.
And that was kind of for me, I was like, "What's next?" Like, I love to create things that are new, like, I like stability and all of that, but I thrive from expression and creativity and passion, and so it was fulfilling some basic needs,
Yeah.
but it wasn't fulfilling my soul.
Right. So you make a decision. I love this, by the way. You make
Okay,
a
good.
decision to go to culinary school in Italy.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, why culinary school? Number 2, why Italy?
Okay. Italy, because I was between Italy and France, actually,
Mhm.
and so I was at said job, and I had a lot of free time because I would finish my work because I was, kinda bored, and so I would be Googling culinary schools in Europe,
Mhm.
and I was between France and Italy and kind of, like, cross analysis of different programs, time, cost, all of that stuff. I wanted about 3 months, and I wanted about the price range that I was looking at, and the Italy one felt more free. It felt like they used simple ingredients prepared well. And that is very much my philosophy around food. Like, I'm not fancy schmancy. I don't think that you need to follow this exactly to the T. I give like eyeball measurements all the time. And I think it should be free and fluid and fun. And it's really just the integrity of the ingredients and making them taste good. And so that's really why I landed on Italy. Plus, it was on the water, which I love.
Right? So
uh,
it calms you. It
what?
calms you.
Yeah.
The water calms you, right? Remember? Okay,
Watercom, yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
I'm listening, I promise. So
Good.
France, it sounds like, was more rigid,
Yeah, in my mind's eye, yeah.
right? And Italy was more flexible, like you could express yourself.
Exactly,
Okay, so
exactly.
you go to Italy,
Yes.
you go to culinary school.
Uh-huh.
What's the most important thing you learn in culinary school?
Okay, I'll tell you. It was not how to make pasta because we did learn that, but, like, honestly, Mike, do you think I make pasta every night? I absolutely don't. I eat tons of vegetables, tons of whole foods, and whole ingredients, which that's a whole 'nother part of my story, which I'm sure we'll get into, but, um I it was less about the food that I learned and more about the way of life. And
Okay,
so I got a tattoo on the back of my neck that says Dolce Vita, which means sweet life. And I hate tattoos. I'm not a tattoo person. But when I was there, the experience felt as significant to me as something that I wanted imprinted on my body forever, which was to never forget how sweet life could be. And so what I learned from going to school there was that it raised the bar and set the bar for how good life could be. Because for me, it felt like a fantasy, like waking up there every day and getting to watch cooking and learn about Italian cuisine and drink Prosecco with views of like 180-degree views of the sea, like, it was absolutely magical, and I was like, "How does everyone not live life this way, and how the hell am I gonna go back home after this?" And so that's why I got the tattoo, and that's was my biggest takeaway was really the sweetness of how good life can be.
right. And how am I gonna replicate that when I go back to the States?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mhm.
So, what was the name of the cooking school?
It was the Italian Culinary Institute.
So you'd recommend it sounds like.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you
it's where I host retreats now.
oh, you do? That's awesome.
I do. I do, yeah. I host culinary and wellness retreats there now.
So you finish there.
Yes.
You come back to the US after that?
Yes.
Okay. Where do you go there? Where do you go in the US?
Okay. So after that, I started working at a company called Italy, which is an Italian kind of food emporium. There's restaurants, there's a cooking school, there's events. And I thought it was my dream job. Like it combined Italy with food, with
Mhm.
cooking and event planning and all of this stuff. And I got in there and it just wasn't for me. The culture did not jive with my values, and it was like 12, 14, 15-hour days, really, really late nights, and I'm someone who gets my work done. I'm very efficient, and so for me, I was like, "Why am I sitting at my desk for this long when I have all my work done?" And it was just a lot of pressure, and so I was doing all the things that I loved, but it wasn't enough again. And so this is when I started getting into yoga and really making the best out of my situation through yeah, through like yoga and wellness practices like that.
Okay. So you get into yoga, you get into
Yeah,
wellness practices, and at
yes.
some point you make the decision that this company is not for you.
Yes.
Where do you go from there?
Okay, so I like to do kind of like rash things in my life. I call them
You're
little
kidding.
sabbaticals. Yeah, I don't know. And so I was there for 2 years, and then I decided that I wanted to study nutrition and yoga because I we missed, like, a little chunk of my story, so I'll fill you in. I have
Okay, good.
Crohn's.
Let's not miss
Ok
any. Fill us
okay, so I have Crohn's disease, and I got diagnosed when I was 12, okay? Crohn's disease is
in. Goodness.
inflammation of the gut,
Yeah.
and I was being hospitalized at least every year up until I was 19. And when I was 19 is when, the doctors were gonna have to do surgery on my gut.
Hmm,
And that's when I turned to a holistic practitioner to actually use food to heal my gut,
okay.
okay?
And
And
you're in
so
college at the time.
I was in college at the time, and how hard is that? And I was on summer break, and so luckily, like, I had a summer to kind of, like, full focus on this healing diet, and so I ate, like, vegetables and whole grains for a couple months straight in hopes of healing my gut, and it totally worked. But it was also like, way too rigid to sustain in my life, and this is kind of where along the line, throughout all of these things that I was going through, I created my own intuitive health with the way that I ate by harnessing the baseline of these vegetables and whole foods as my foundation, and then adding in flexibility, as you mentioned with Italy, and
Mhm.
pasta and wine and all of that to create my own intuitive health of a health that kept me satiated physically, but also emotionally. And so that happened. And so when I was working in Italy when I was like 25, I wanted to study the why behind this nutrition. I wanted to know more about why this worked for my gut because I haven't had a flare up in 12 years. And I
Oh,
was
that's
like,
awesome.
okay. I know. And so I was like, how, why? And I wanted to learn more about
So
it.
no surgery.
No surgery.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank
I love it.
thank you. Yeah. And so I ended up leaving that job and I went to study in London at the Academy of Healing and Nutrition, and I also got my yoga teacher training in Malta simultaneously.
Malta?
Yeah, I like adventure. Malta is like
Kinda.
a little island, I don't know if you've heard of it.
I feel like I should have a seatbelt on for this story.
I know, it's like, you're like, "What's the pivotal moment for you?" And I'm like,
I'm I'm
"The
keep
pivotal
I'm
moment?"
keeping my hands inside the ride at all times, just so you know.
Okay, okay, cool.
I love this. Okay. So you go to London.
Yeah,
By the way, why London? Why
I I wanted to go somewhere and I wanted to learn about Eastern medicine, like
okay.
more of the natural approach to food and the longevity diet. And it was just like the right time, right place type of thing, right lessons.
So is it a
And
European slant that you were looking for, or was it
yeah, I think it was. And honestly, I found the program and within a week and a half, I gave my notice and like left the country. So it was like I was ready to go, you
I don't
know.
this is why I just tightened the seatbelt, it's like,
I know.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I love this, by the way. This is so cool. You have lived such an amazing life, and I'm so unbelievably blessed that I get to like witness this and hear about it. Okay. So you go I'm now I'm gonna throw something out there. You tell me if I'm wrong. When
Sure.
you went to Italy, you discovered a different world,
Yeah.
a European world as it relates to food, the Dolce Vita thing, right? And it sounds like that may have had an influence on the London thing. Like you were gravitating back to the European influence on food.
Yeah, it's the European influence on food, and it's also the expansion that I personally get from traveling. And so from ripping myself out of my comfort zone and putting myself in a foreign city, wherever that may be, I expand, I grow, I learn more about myself. And so London and Europe, it's a pretty comfortable place to expand in, like it's not, I'm not camping in a tent anywhere. It's
Yeah.
pretty comfortable and familiar, but it's also quite foreign. And so
Yeah.
for me, it was a really perfect opportunity to grow.
Well, I love this. And part of the reason I love it is you're not going to the same place every time. Like you're not doing the routine thing, you're doing just the opposite. And I really feel like that if people take a lesson from your life, it's that you really in order to grow, you kind of have to pluck yourself out and plop yourself somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like go somewhere where you don't know anybody, go somewhere where you have to figure things out and
Right.
and sort of shock the system, so to speak, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. And it's funny because I remember when I first went to culinary school, everyone was like, "Oh, this is what they said. They said, I'm so jealous of you." And I was kind of like, you're so jealous of me, you can create this for your life too. It's just, are you willing to risk everything it takes to do this? Because people see it and they think like, oh, la di da, but it's like I have to give up my home, my comfort, my family, my friends, my job, and leave the country. And
Mhm.
so I'm so jealous. It's like you can do it. You're just choosing your comfort, which is fine. But
Mhm.
it's like,
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.